Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/AITA. In today's episode, AITA for not letting my GF eat the naan bread we ordered? AITA for leaving my son's wedding early? AITA for refusing to babysit my grandchild due to her not being my biological grandkid. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. AITA for not letting my GF eat the naan bread we ordered? My GF and I got takeout from an Indian restaurant we like and order from usually when our budget allows us. This place is really the only good Indian place anywhere near us, but it is very pricey, and so we try to keep our order small, one entree for me, one entree for her, and a side of naan bread that we share. The thing is, the side of bread isn't very much, and the entree just isn't the same without it. So it seriously annoys me when she eats the bread without dipping it in her curry. It's such a waste of the little bread that we get. I told her this before, but says it's not my concern how she eats her food. Except it is my concern because she is wasting a shared side. Whatever, I let it go each time. This time she didn't order curry like she usually does, she got biryani, rice and meat, so I was happy that I would get the bread to myself. While we were eating, she reaches over for the bread and eats a piece on its own. I got annoyed and moved the bread away from her and told her she doesn't need the bread since she isn't eating a curry and doesn't need bread, whereas I am eating a curry, so I do need bread, also that her entree comes with rice and she can eat that. She got offended and ended up threatening not to pay her share for the food next time. She also called me a greedy asshole and took her food and ate the rest in our bedroom. My friends are split, one of them says I'm in the right and it's too much carbs for one meal for her to have bread and rice, but the other friend essentially also called me a greedy asshole. It's been hours and she's ignoring me. AITA? You are a gigantic AH. You don't get to decide for someone how they eat their food. If you are splitting the bill, she gets to eat some bread. Regardless of if you think it is being wasted as eaten. Go say you're sorry before you're single. YTA. This. You don't get to decide how a person eats their food. YTA, do you know that naan, roti, and other Indian flatbreads are often eaten on their own? Just order some more and quit complaining. I one time had naan used as the bread for a butter chicken grilled cheese from a little Indian place in northern Ontario. It was mind-blowing. YTA 100%. Who GAF if she eats it with the curry or not? And too much carbs? So you and your friend are now trying to dictate your girlfriend's diet? I hope she gets out of there. I can only imagine how you are about everything else in your lives when this is such a small thing to react this negatively towards. Can you imagine acting like the food police over some naan? Guaranteed the friends eat a lot carbs and red meat. The dudes that are worried about their girls gaining weight usually have terrible diets themselves. Double standards. So it seriously annoys me when she eats the bread without dipping it in her curry. It's such a waste of the little bread that we get. I told her this before, but says it's not my concern how she eats her food. Except it is my concern because she is wasting a shared side. Whatever, I let it go each time. How gracious of you to let it go that she enjoys her food differently than you enjoy your food. YTA. Yes, he's a saint for letting it go. How unbelievably nice of him to accept that she eats her food differently/s. OMG, are you actually policing the way your girlfriend eats her food? Definitely, YTA. You both paid for the meal. You both paid for a main and a side of naan. Unless you paid extra to have that naan bread all to yourself, you're being a massive AH to assume she doesn't get to have her half because she didn't order a traditional, dip the bread in it meal. Yes, you're being a greedy asshole. You want more naan? Order an extra side of naan. You don't get to cheat her of half a side that she paid for just because you don't approve of the way she eats her bread. YTA, and sound controlling AF with your too many carbs comment. Also, it's just called naan, not naan bread. Naan means bread, so you're essentially saying I am an asshole and didn't let my GF eat the bread. So, you are not only an AH, but also not particularly intelligent either. What a catch. I knew OP was going to be the AH as soon as I saw naan bread. Then continuing to call it bread. That's like calling a bagel bread. Like, yeah, technically, but also no. Order 2 sides of naan bread. Problem solved. Naan, oh no, you don't understand. Op wants his girlfriend to pay for half the naan and then give all of it to him because he needs it for his curry. AITA for leaving my son's wedding early? My son, Alan, 26M, has just recently gotten married to Helen, 25-26F. I love them both very much. It's relevant to mention that I really dislike parties and large gatherings. I'm not sociable at all and I really just dislike them. So it was kind of a downer when I heard that Alan and Helen were going to have a wedding with around 150 people. I told Alan ahead of time that I would probably leave early and that me and the rest of our family would take 2 cars so that they could stay if they wanted to. He looked like he didn't mind at the time. So at the wedding itself, after the ceremony, I basically told him that I was glad and it looked great, but I was going to go home. He asked if I was going to at least stay for cake or for food, but the food didn't look all that appetizing to me, so I told him I was just going to leave. He said, "Alright, whatever, just go," and I went back to my table to get my stuff. I told my wife and she said she didn't feel comfortable driving back alone. The venue was very far from us and the roads there were not great. I said in that case she should come with me, and after some hemming and hawing she agreed. So we left. Then 2 days later Alan's new wife bombarded me and my wife with messages that she was disgusted with us, saying horrible things about us and insulting us as people and as parents. Really just sickening. I told her off and asked why she thought it was okay to talk to her in-laws like that, and she said that us leaving ruined the wedding for Alan and that he was very upset for the rest of the night. She continued to berate us. I politely told her to leave us alone and called Alan, mainly to inform him that his wife had a temper that he should know about. When we talked about it, he basically started berating me too and said things like, "You always do this," and "Just leave me alone," before hanging up. I feel like I'm justified since I told him ahead of time that I wasn't going to stay. AITA here? Edit: since so many people care about the details, yes, there was a mother-son dance planned. Yes, he included me in the count for the food costs. Yes, I love him. No, this does not mean that I do not care about him. YTA, you didn't even stay for the meal that they'd paid for. What an absolutely disgusting lack of love and respect from you as a parent. You also strong-armed your wife into leaving too, so your son had no parents present at his reception. How you don't see that you're the AH is a mystery to me. Yes, and now he's playing the victim card when the new daughter-in-law called him out. Why even bother going if you can't be there fully for your son on his wedding day? The fact that you left before the mother/son dance or the speeches speaks volume. As does your comment about the food not being appetizing. Your son is fed up with you pulling this stunt every time he needs you. Not sure why you can't see that, YTA. By the way, I might leave early does not mean right after the wedding ceremony I'm leaving. Your son deserves so much better. YTA. Leaving early doesn't mean not going to the reception at all, and taking your wife along with you was even worse. You need therapy for this level of antisocial behavior, especially since you don't even seem to understand why you're in the wrong. YTA. You missed all of the traditional wedding reception things. You didn't make a speech, your wife didn't dance with your son. He didn't have his parents there to celebrate with him, even for an hour or two. You didn't express love just to, "Hey, you look great, but I am going to leave," and then you dragged your wife with you all because you couldn't be bothered to give him 2 hours of your time at his wedding. When I read leaving early, I assumed they at least stayed for the meal and first dances. Nope. Bro dipped out after the ceremony and bullied his wife into leaving then too. YTA, get over yourself. AITA for refusing to babysit my grandchild due to her not being my biological grandkid. I was told to come here. My son was married to Emma. They got married and had a kid. Apparently he had doubts about if he was the father and got a DNA test. He was not, but has been in the kid's life for 4 years, and his name is on the birth certificate, so he is legally responsible and he still loves the kid. Now my issue is that before they divorced I was never allowed near the grandkid. I asked to babysit, but they both cited that my home was unsafe and they do not trust me with a baby, even if I raised 4 kids. They wouldn't even bring the kid to family events like Christmas. They did this with all of his siblings. I know I am more country than them, but it hurt a lot. My other kids' relationship with him is strained because they believe he is looking down on them after he got a city job. Now after the divorce he has the kid almost 50% of the time and he keeps asking me to babysit. I told him straight up that I will not babysit the kid since she not my grandkid, and you made it clear I wasn't good enough to babysit when you thought she was your kid. Huge argument, and he thinks I am awful. I just think he wants someone to parent due to not being able to rely on his ex-wife anymore. The reason he claimed my house was unsafe was the horses. This is in 2 other comments. Nothing about my house has changed. Everything is locked if it is dangerous. I've watched my other grandkid and there has been 0 issues. NTA. It's not about the DNA, it's about snubbing you before. 100%. It's about his treatment towards you, and basically not allowing you to be this kid's grandparent by refusing to spend time with you. NTA. NTA. He can't just burn bridges and wonder why he can't cross them. NTA. This has more to do with his behavior towards you when he was married than the kid not being your biological grandkid. But now that he suddenly needs help, grandma is suddenly safe and fine. He probably expects free babysitting. I suspect the kid being kept away from your family was more the ex's doing than your son's. I'd like to hear her reasons why she would withhold him not just from grandma, but most of the family. If you are going to babysit, do it for market rate. I really don't want to, maybe it was the ex, but he really messed his relationship with his whole family. It really did seem like he was looking down for us having country jobs. My daughter is taking over the ranch, my youngest son is a mechanic and my middle child is working as a park ranger. Overall NA, I do think your reasoning for saying no should have only been about how they didn't trust you before, so why trust you now? Info, why did they say your home was unsafe and why did they not trust you? I smell missing reasons. He said the horses were unsafe, but those are in the stables and I'm not going to take a ride with a baby on the horse. The house is good even if a little old, the only place I would say it is unsafe is in the cold cellar, but we keep that locked. It's a typical ranch that he grew up on. NTA, the reason you are not this kid grandparent isn't because of a DNA test, it is because your son and son's ex didn't allow you to be. Your son has no right to ask you anything regarding his kid. Info, why did your son feel that you and your family were unsafe for the child to be around, and what has changed that has made you safer in his view, such as he believes you can now watch the child? If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.